Peace. I'm making this video in response to Anton, Batey, and Elijah Muhammad 07 in their video called Proof the Master Farad Muhammad is Not God. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is put out the information, the very vital information that Anton, Batey, and Elijah Muhammad 07 seem to miss in their videos that they're putting out on this Wallace died for business. Now, we see, and we're going to just use, as Anton Batey says, logic and reasoning. Now, let's just ask ourselves, brothers and sisters, if this information that the devils are bringing out on this Wallace died for were true, why didn't they bring it out during the time of the messenger? Because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad met Master Farad Muhammad. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us of Master Farad Muhammad. We who believe in his teachings have never met Master Farad Muhammad. So for them to bring these issues up now further shows how it's all a lie. Because they had plenty of opportunity to bring it up during the time of the messenger. Now let's look at it. We see that Malcolm X debated at Harvard. Now let's listen to how he opened up in his debate at Harvard. He says, "I am here at this Harvard Law School forum this evening to represent Mr. Muhammad, the spiritual head of the fastest growing group of black Muslims in the Western Hemisphere. We who follow Mr. Muhammad know that he has been divinely taught and sent to us by God himself." Now, if this Wallace died for stuff that they telling us is so true, why didn't they bring it up at the Harvard debate and they could have shut the whole debate down? Because this is when you bring up information like that. You bring up information like that at forums like this, because this is where the information can be debated. The information can be critiqued. The information that you're putting out can be either proven to be truth or false. But we see, once again, the lying devils, they didn't do it. Let's look at when Malcolm X debated at Yale. Once again, let's listen to how he opened up at Yale. He says, "I represent Mr. Elijah Muhammad, the spiritual head of the fastest growing group of black Muslims in the Western Hemisphere. We who follow him know that he has been divinely taught and sent to us by God himself. We believe that the miserable plight of the 20 million black people in America is the fulfillment of divine prophecy." So we see once again at this Yale debate, he mentions Master Farad Muhammad, and he mentions that the messenger was sent by Master Farad Muhammad. And we who follow him believe this. So why, once again, didn't the devils bring up this Wallace died for? Let's go further. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was interviewed by the White House. Once again, nobody said anything about this Wallace died for. They brought this Wallace died for business up because they knew that they couldn't prove it. So they just brought this information up and put it in a newspaper. So when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad once again offered $100,000 for those who make these charges to prove it, they didn't do anything. Why? Because they cannot prove it. What the devils want to do, these counter intel pros, was they didn't want black leadership to gain respectability. And they wanted to prevent the long-range growth of black organizations, especially among the black youth. So them knowing that they can't prove this information on this Wallace died for, they can't prove it at the debates, they can't prove it during the interviews. So what they do is they just put the information out because they know that all they want to do is plant the seed of doubt in the heads of those who coming up later. Because while the messenger is on the scene, they say, since we can't prove this now, when he here, because I'm going to show you the countless opportunities that the devils had to prove this information, but they didn't. So they say, since we can't prove it now that he's here, we're going to put this information out so the later generations that come on behind the messenger, after the messenger is gone, we can plant that seed of doubt in their head so they won't follow the most successful black organization that has ever come among the so-called American Negroes in America. Because by far the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the most successful when you look at his works. So we want to look at all of these countless interviews that these devils had to present this Wallace died forward information. I mean, Malcolm was interviewed countless times. The messenger was interviewed countless times. Farrakhan was interviewed countless times. Muhammad Ali was interviewed countless times. And we see that they never brought up this Wallace died forward. Since the messenger was on the scene from 1931 to 1975. And they've been doing this investigation all of that time. And they only bring the information up one time in a newspaper. Not that they brought it up in a debate or in an interview with the messenger or any of his ministers. They put the information in a newspaper. Just because you don't have to prove what you put in the newspaper, you just put the information out. So we want to use logic and reason and ask ourselves, if this Wallace died forward garbage was true, why not bring the information out when you have people who can challenge the information that you putting out if it's the truth? But when it's a lie, like the devils have done countless times, like with the Kennedy assassination, they take the information and keep it locked up for 75 years. With the war in Iraq, they put out this information on Saddam Hussein, we find out that's a lie. So we just want to use logic and reason to ask ourselves about this Wallace died forward lie. But I'll be coming back further with more against these charges that they make against Master Farad Muhammad. Peace.